Greetings, friends, aliens, and hopefully friendly aliens. Last week, one of my more distant relations sent me this colossal intellectual beauty pageant for Christmas. I've no idea where they came by the inspiration to do so, but it got me thinking about something that hasn't had reason to come into my orbit since before I'd put middle school behind me. Time capsules. And because I'm me, this then got me thinking about buried treasure, which then prompted me to ask the question, what would be the most valuable thing for a future Indiana Jones to unearth? To which my answer was both incredibly obvious and yet paradoxically open-ended. The Voyager probe. Specifically the golden record plaque. Of course, ours would have the luxury of not having to be hurled upwards at Mach yes, so mass and volume are functionally non-issues, although I would still like for a single person to be able to lift it. This just leaves us with the burning questions of how exactly to build the thing and what to put in it. Since we want this to essentially just be the Voyager probe on Earth, only with the added trade-off of both literally and figuratively carrying a bit more utilitarian weight than a cosmic ad read for humanity, and having to contend with a much more rigorous and constant, abrasive slog than a box hurtling through a near vacuum, we're going to build it so that, whether it's unearthed a few decades, a couple centuries, or 37 millennia from now, its contents will still be not only intact, but deemed valuable enough at least to study by whomever may be concerned with such things at the time. To do this, I propose a nested bunker system comprised of a concrete outer vault which stays in the ground, and a removable capsule which can be extracted using the handles and a provided synthetic fiber rope tucked into the secondary box on top, all of which will be sealed with a 4-inch thick tile puzzle lid made of concrete and granite, whose interlocking pattern ensures that a single person can open the vault without needing to resort to brute force provided they're of reasonable intelligence, while also being sturdy enough to deny the contents to any incurious savages that should happen upon it, and the vault being filled by a layer of sand helps to cushion the lid from below, making sure it doesn't crack and fall in on the treasure chest during its stint in the temporal limbo. Unfortunately, the inner chest is going to prove a bit trickier since it has to be movable by a single person, but also can't be made of compostable materials since we want it to last for millions of years if it has to, which only really leaves me the option of advanced plastic casting with metal alloys, most probably titanium and/or aluminum, being used sparingly for structural support and security. So what are we planning to safeguard with all this armor? Well, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? What could we possibly put in this thing that would be both relevant and useful to any human from any era, no matter what their situation or status? If we're assuming that money is no object, then a version of the Mormons' golden plates. That is, from my understanding, a set of gold tablets containing the fundamental knowledge of the universe, which in our case would be an abridged transcription of the books How to Invent Everything and How to Rebuild Civilization. However, the issue this might pose is that if our timeless treasure is happened upon by some greedy barbarian rather than an enlightened scholar, the information might be deemed less valuable than the metal, and so might well be lost to the fires of a mint before ever being properly discovered. Therefore, it is best to print our knowledge plaque on something with an equivalent shelf life but much lower economic value. So I propose a sequence of 1-foot square titanium tablets, which can then either be etched or engraved with a Morse code-esque binary script to aid us on spatial efficiency. But what sort of information would we put in our Bobble Bible? Well, I can tell you what won't be in it. Any sort of cultural or moral propagandizing. I will not be repeating the same mistakes as the Georgia Guidestones. My Codas Gigas will contain only the essential factual touchstones necessary to start up, run, and maintain a human civilization. Extensive treatises on the various material sciences, with a particular focus on biology, psychology, physics, and engineering, along with dedicated instructional verses on all the classic civilizational staples like agriculture, architecture, engineering, and medicine, and lengthy chapters laying out all known forms of warfare and weapons development. Some people might say that's an inappropriate inclusion, but hear me out. No matter what point in future times this capsule gets brought to light in, everything in it will, in all ways, be ancient history, so there's hardly any threat in it. And even if the new people of late tomorrow have somehow regressed to the point where concepts like the phalanx or blitzkrieg have somehow become novel again, I very much doubt that human nature, or the nature of life if it's not humans we're addressing anymore, will have been so dramatically altered that the very first thing they think to do with any new information isn't to work out the best ways to weaponize it. All of this, both literally and figuratively, will be capped off, fittingly enough, with my very own version of the Rosetta Stone, by which I mean a pictographic lexicon of the top 1,000 most common English words to aid in the translation into whatever alien languages, whatever future humans, or our alien successors, colonizers, or archaeologists who find our buried treasure may have come up with while our gifts were interred. And speaking of gifts, the second thing I'd add to our forever box is a sealed container, something similar to one of those metal wallets, containing a premium multi-tool with as many attachments as can be practically fit into it. For a third, I'd originally considered leaving a small trove of precious metal, but it occurs to me that those would only be valuable to creatures who've invented money. So I'm left with a bit of a puzzle, which I confess that even with a week's worth of contemplation, I've been unable to solve. So I put it out to the internet at large. What should we put in our vault to be immortalized for posterity? Leave your thoughts below, and while you're there, consider also liking, subscribing, joining as a member for access to future videos up to a week early, and also consider checking out my books on Amazon if you're into strange, esoteric thought experiments like this. And with all that said, until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and remember, you can never think too much, you can only think badly. Peace be upon you.